Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Monday to you on this August 25th, 2025. I got all your stories for your rush hour ride home. You did it. You made it through the final Monday in August. That's an end to summer. Fun is gone. It's pumpkin spice latte season, and I'm loving it. Get your layers ready. Okay, so a lot to get into. We've got an update on Justin Baldoni versus Blake Lively, as Katie from Without a Crystal Ball did a AMA and Ask Me Anything. We'll share what she had to say. More tea dripping in about how Justin may have this thing in the bag. Proof is coming out. They think that the Wayfair parties have enough information that completely refutes Blake Lively's claims. And then we've got the YouTube channel Never a Truer Word analyzing the letter I received. So this is very meta that we have a expert analyzing the words that were used to harass me. It's very interesting stuff. We'll get into that. And then afterwards, some politics. We'll talk about Donald Trump and the idea that some folks want him to be a dictator. And they bought 10% of Intel, which is kind of a communist thing to do. And also, Kilmar Obrego Garcia was released and also is now back in detention. He is set to be deported to Uganda. That's right. Wild time to be alive. These stories and more starts right now on The Rush. So let's dive right into the Blake Lively stuff. We're going to kind of dance around, if you don't mind. It's a Monday. We can dance. We can dance, baby. You can't stop me. You're not the boss of me. You're not my dad. I'll dance if I want. So Without a Crystal Ball, of course, we've been covering like a hawk, like white on rice, like flies on shit. We have been on top of this story. Some say too much so, but I find it interesting. The biggest celebrity news story in the world. But Without a Crystal Ball was dropping wild tea over the weekend with regard to James Fatuska, former reporter for the Daily Mail. A lot of people are wondering why he has changed his story. Has he been getting harassed? Does the Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively team have dirt on him? But he has completely changed his story. And normally you would be not too credible when doing so, but also these are hard receipts from several months ago that Katie from Without a Crystal Ball has. Now, she's been questioned by people. I believe some of them bots, some of them trying to sow doubt. So she says, there are bots that are pro-Blake spreading misinformation about me. And she shares a screenshot directly from her inbox. I mean, she's literally shared all the proof, all of the paper trails, the math and whatever of James Fatuska emailing her. She FaceTimed him. She did all the things that a reporter should do to vet a source. But I found this interesting as she commented in the AMA, the Ask Me Anything. Someone said, did Leslie Sloan, which was Blake's PR person, run a smear campaign last year? Did James Fatuska provide irrefutable proof of the smear campaign? Do the Wayfair lawyers have access to this proof? Without a Crystal Ball says, yes, they did. And yes, Wayfair has the proof. Blake's retaliation case is done. Over. If she was smearing Justin and Justin hired crisis PR to protect himself, then she doesn't have a case for retaliation. Katie said, Wayfair didn't retaliate. People have a right to defend themselves under the First Amendment. Yeah. Like I said before, it was the jiu-jitsu method, right? Wayfair was preparing to retaliate if they needed to. And by retaliate, it would have been in a defensive way to set the record straight, provide their truth. And they never needed to because the internet does what the internet does, and it pointed its way to justice. So I'm going to share with you guys what the Daily Mail had to say. Little clickbaity, Judge Unseal's bombshell smear campaign text. Little clickbaity, but we'll share all of that in a few minutes. First, I wanted to feature, because this is important to my community, whether you follow the Laura Owens case or not. I mean, we have been just relentlessly harassed by Laura, her attorney, random people that claim to be her friends and whatnot, relentlessly. And again, I'm not here to play a victim. I'm just here to say how bizarre it has been to be sort of the story or part of the story. I'm a witness in the Arizona trial, of course, star witness. When you're a YouTuber and you become a witness, they just make you a star witness. It's like getting verified on Instagram. It's like, boom, star witness, which, by the way, we do have merch shirts. So if you want that, I've already got, I have somebody who bought a hoodie, a tie-dye shirt, and 2 t-shirts. So if you want your Dave Neal Star Witness merch, you can go get it. I mean, you don't have to. We'll love you either way. But here is never a truer word their YouTube channel. You have to check it out. Not just for his delightful, I believe, Scottish accent, but because he does a really good job of analyzing this email that was sent to me. Look, he color coordinates and highlights, and he shares exactly the different ways in which this email is absurd. I'm just going to play a couple clips. I highly recommend you check out the full thing. It's very interesting to hear somebody, kind of like pull apart the words that were used.
Is it casualness? Is it an attempt to make Dave seem less important? I had to find your email address online. You're not so important that I have your email address. But there's something here.
And my email address is available at rushhourwithdave.com. You can find my email very easily. But of course, he's calling out this letter that was sent to me, which was supposed to be by a friend who says my reporting essentially led to Laura trying to kill herself. This is what was said here, which again is like weaponized terrorism. It's like emotional terrorism. It's bad stuff. It's not the first time I've been told that there's the blood on my hands. And of course, as we've doubled down and reported on this case, you guys know as much as I do, our efforts have been to provide the truth for the victims. We don't want Laura Owens to hurt herself whatsoever.
I think that wants to put some distance between this person and Dave. I haven't thought about you before. I had to find your email address online. And why is that the important first thing to say? Maybe it's not true. Maybe this is all about image.
All about image. And he goes on and breaks down every single phrase and why someone would say it or not say it. He even goes so far as to predict that this was written by a woman. Now, we know that we assume it was written by Laura Owens, but you still have to stress test it. Does such a fantastic job.
Instead of making her life hell, I think you would have found she was a much different person than you made her out to be. Now, I have studied a lot of the communications between Laura and Clayton Echard in the Bachelor paternity scandal, which is now finished and Laura lost. And that was one of the themes in the conversations, in the communications that she was sending to Clayton was about dating contracts and you must get to know me and we can spend some time. She really felt in all of that if he spent some time with her, he would find out she was a different person and Clayton would want to be together with Laura. Clayton didn't want anything to do with Laura, but Laura was convinced that if he signed this dating contract, which she tried to coerce him into, then she would come across as a much nicer person and he would find her a much nicer person. It's the exact same concept that is here.
And by the way, I pegged that right away, being so close to this. If you only gave Laura a chance, that's kind of the feels to me, and this is really sad, but it feels to me as though that's that ruminating factor in her head. Like if people just gave me a shot, if these advertisers just gave me a shot, if people just listen to my podcast, if this guy just dated me, if he, whatever. And it's like, look, people don't owe you their time. And that's an entitled feeling you have when your parents treat you like a spoiled brat, is this idea that, well, the world is my oyster and I will pull as many levers as I can to control the outcome. No, that's not fun. It's not fun to control the outcome. No, you have to exist in the world and the reality that shows up. That's why I've said Laura should just go work at Aldi's. Go work at Aldi's. They'll let you sit down at the thing. You can ring people out. You can stock some shelves. You can peel some onions and do whatever you got to do. Maybe they'll open a bag for you and you can test some of the chocolates. Go work at Aldi's. Can we get Laura a job at Aldi's? God knows the family needs the money. But more so, it's like, this is why when my kid's old enough, I want him to get his hands dirty. I want him to do some manual labor. I want him to mow the lawn. I want him to work for somebody else. I think it is such a crutch when people work for their parents, because I've done that before. You need to work for somebody who's going to just tell you how it is as an employee. She lives in the back of the house. Her parents think her shit doesn't stink. They just treat her. I'm sort of speculating here, but they've treated her as this golden child. And she's like, well, if everyone else could see me the way my parents see me, maybe that life would be better. And it's like, listen, Toots, ain't nobody going to see you the way your parents see you. It's just not the reality of the world. Can the world be harsh? Yes. But if you take that harsh world and work hard and carve out a spot for you, the fair way, the world can be very great.
That is written by a female. So who wrote the note? Well,
So he summarizes this, and again, I'm going to cut him off here because I want you guys to go watch this. But he summarizes everything he was able to glean from like a 1 or 2 paragraph email. Someone who wants Dave Neal to stop speaking about Laura, check. Someone who isn't a friend of Laura, check. Someone who wants to enhance the image of Laura, check. Who could it be? The call's coming from inside the casita, and pretty soon it'll be inside the prison. I mean, there it is. So Star Witness, we'll continue to cover that story as it comes in. There's a lot of people that have no idea about this story. Maybe you hear it just because you've been listening to the Blake Lively stuff or whatever. But I'm telling you, it's not going away. So if you want Justice for Clayton Official on Instagram, they've got all of the updates that you need to kind of keep you updated on that. But before we get into this final part of the Justin Baldoni thing, I got to tell you about the sponsor. We're going to have all fall season. They're amazing. We are so lucky to have Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Start your day with a protein-packed breakfast from Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Oh, you thought they only had delicious smoothie options? You're mistaken. Pair a smoothie with a toasted breakfast wrap. Order ahead online and earn rewards with the Tropical Smoothie Cafe app. Like to customize things? Me too. Add more good vibes to that smoothie. Fresh add-ins like almonds, spinach and kale, chia seeds, or supplements like protein and Energizer. My favorite smoothie is the Peanut Paradise Chef's Kiss. Mwah. It's chock full of 22 grams of protein. My wife loves the mixed berry Greek yogurt bowl because she's complicated. Topped with fresh strawberries and blueberries, which come with a whopping 26 grams of protein. Make every day a getaway with your bold flavors and better for you pairings. Only at Tropical Smoothie Cafe. Tropical Smoothie Cafe, you're on tropic time now, baby. All right, we're lucky to have them. Seriously, go check them out. Judge Unsealed's bombshell smear campaign texts and emails and Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni case. This is crazy. So again, the clickbaiting is there, and they don't really tell you who, that's the thing with these lawsuits. You have to read them, and then you have to see sort of like, who's winning? What does this mean? This was sealed, this was unsealed, this was protective order, and, us idiots, that don't have degrees in law, you kind of just go on your hunch. But as people have been following this story, I think it's been pretty obvious the majority of people believe Justin Baldoni, and now that we've gotten to the stage where Blake Lively could have released just about any amount of evidence, it hasn't come. Now, what's interesting with this article, it's the same thing that Katie from Without a Crystal Ball was unearthing, which is that you've got Blake Lively's PR person, her publicist, Leslie Sloan, seemingly willing to tell these gossip magazines anything. And it's pretty slimy because it seems as though most of the time these gossip magazines don't even care what's true. They just now have somebody that they can report on, and they can keep it private because, confidentiality, sources, and all of that jazz. Well, a lot of these claims just never materialized, right? Like, there was this idea from Blake Lively's side that, It Ends With Us folks, Baldoni's people are going to spend $9 million. This was according to Baldoni's business partner, Jamie Heath. Now, there's no way they've spent $9 million on PR. There's 3 months where they spent $30,000, which, yeah, that is a lot of money, but that's not 9 million. It's 1/10 that, or 100, whatever it is. It's a lot less. 90 grand. It's a lot less than 9 million. Which either way, you spend 100 million. PR is PR. That doesn't prove retaliation. But what was interesting in this article, and I'm not going to go over the specific quotes and everything because it kind of is just like some recycled information that we've got over the weekend. But what's interesting is your average person who stumbles on this case, they might believe Blake Lively because they haven't researched it, or maybe they believe Justin Baldoni. People will take their own sort of life experiences into it. But at no point, with Blake making these allegations against Baldoni, at no point have we seen any evidence that really points to things that were said or done to damage Blake that aren't real. All we can point to is dozens of content creators and random people online that have made content like mine that questions Blake and just says, look, she made a big claim. She needs big evidence. She's provided essentially zero evidence. And the more you look into it, you actually see Blake Lively's publicist as the one who was seeding information. And, by seeding information, I mean sharing with James Vituska of Daily Mail information that Justin was the one who was the inappropriate one, and starting that rumor so that when Justin realized this is going out into the press and we're going to have to see what's going on, At that point, they said, we need to hire the right people. We need to lawyer up. We need all of this. So in another text conversation filed on Thursday, a frazzled sounding Heath texted a friend that he was having to shell out an eye-popping $9 million on a crisis communications team. I've hired a crisis management team costing $9 million. Also, and again, I guess the idea is, was this exaggerated or was it actually 9 million? Show that evidence. Our PR team just have to manage every landmine so it doesn't go off, and there's just so much to it. A source close to Baldoni's PR team told Daily Mail that Tag was hired by Wayfair for $15,000 and suggested Heath was exaggerating. In one group text with film execs on January 2nd, 2024, Baldoni said he felt Lively had him held hostage. Trying to find my balance of captaining a ship and leading it while it's being held hostage. How to give her most of what she wants while maintaining some of my own vision. He added he felt he was acting and working with this person who can and will use anything she can against me. It's all scary, yet I know I have protection. So Blake Lively's supporters look at this and they say, well, he knew years ago that she was out to get him because he must have done something wrong. His side says, no, what are you talking about? There was no, if Blake just pulled this lawsuit out of thin air, then they would have been caught off guard. But a whole year earlier, they knew she was doing the 17-point contingency plan. I'll come back to set if you don't do X, Y, and Z. And they felt like they had to sign it in duress. They felt held hostage. And those aren't things that you necessarily would say if you were the one who did something wrong. Like if Justin acted inappropriately and she had evidence about it, you would, this conversation would be a lot different. So as we've watched this play out, it just doesn't math. It doesn't add up. And I'm telling you what, unless there's some new information that comes out, as I've said for months on end, it still points in the same direction, which is that Justin Baldoni was absolutely thrown under the bus, smeared, lied about by Blake Lively's publicist. If you're Blake Lively, and this goes south for you, which it seems like it is, can you throw your own publicist under the bus and say, I didn't realize my publicist was seeding misinformation to Justin, so when he started to retaliate, I thought it was him being on the offensive, and therefore I felt the way that I did. So it actually was the, volcanic eruption of my own PR team. I don't know. We're getting into the weeds of things, but there is sort of this idea that the spark came from a overly ambitious publicist on Blake's side. But was Blake innocent in all of this? Again, this is what we're all going to find out. Wild stuff indeed. All right, coming up next, I've got your political updates. Not everyone loves them, but it's very interesting what's going on here. We've got deportations. We've actually got ICE picking a political side, which is not a good thing. And we have the U.S. government buying 10% of Intel, which is kind of like a commie type of thing to do. All this and more coming up next.